All right, you are going to be in for a treat today, ladies and gentlemen. You're about to meet the CEO of the fastest real estate brokerage growth-wise in the history of the world. Next on Cliff's Notes. Real estate agents, are you struggling with the day-to-day grind, dialing for dollars, putting in hours of floor time with little to show for it? Are you looking for tips, tricks, and tactics to accelerate your career as an agent that will have you closing more homes, working with more clients, and earning more money than ever before? Hi, my name's Cliff Freeman, and I've spent the past 2 decades of my real estate career running one of the top brokerages in DFW and personally coaching over 1,000 high-performing real estate professionals across North America. I created this podcast to share the strategies and tactics you need to explode your real estate business. I guarantee it. All right, everybody, welcome January 2nd. 2020. Write this one down. You're going to want to have a notepad out, plenty of paper, your pen, put your phone on do not disturb. Get ready because we're about to light it up here with one of the most respected people that I know in the business, someone who I've followed and been fortunate enough to work alongside with for the past 3 years. So excited to see him now in the position as Chief Executive Officer of eXp Realty. Ladies and gentlemen, if you would, let's welcome Mr. Jason Gesing. Jason, how are you, sir?
Hey, Happy New Year, Cliff. Thanks for having me on.
Well, thank you, sir. Happy New Year, and we are super stoked to have you on the show today. And man, I can't think of a better way to get this year off the ground. This new year, 2020. It's very exciting, and I know you're going to have a lot of great things to share with our audience today. And so we're ready to dive on in here and start unpacking some things. Let me, Jason, let me just lay the groundwork here, if I could. We just reported third quarter earnings, and our revenue run rate is over $1 billion in sales a year at this point. We've been named in the top 5 in things such as top movers in transactions, top movers in volume, largest independents, closed transaction size, closed sales volume, the Billionaires Club, the brokerage agent count. I mean, this company has literally been on fire. Did you ever imagine that you would be at the helm of a company that is right now leading the entire industry into the next chapter here?
Well, no, I didn't. I'll be honest with you. I mean, my history with the company dates back to January 2010. And like so many startups, I learned that you just want to do what you can to help. I've just been trying to do what I can to help for the last 10 years. That should be 10 years, I think, this month now, for me. That I've been working with them. It's been the honor of my life. But all of the things that you talk about, those achievements, those accomplishments, I just want to be very clear right from the beginning. You may hear me repeat it over and over again. Those are all accomplishments that our agents have achieved. Those are all things that are done by the agents. I mean, our company grows because our agents see value in it. They see an opportunity for people that they know, and that's how it works. So credit to our agents, credit to our staff. It's been a lot of fun for sure.
Well, it's a fascinating story, and anybody who's followed it knows that it's just it's amazing. This has never happened before in the history of real estate, and it's been a long road. But you know what? I'd like to, Jason, if we could. Can you talk a little bit about that road? It wasn't like this all the time, was it?
It was not. No, it wasn't. I mean, I was thinking about this last night, actually, before coming back in for the new year. But in my mind, there's never been a better time to join eXp, in part because of what we've done last year and some of the things that we've continued to do to enhance the value proposition. But if I think back, 10 years ago, nobody wanted to hear what we were about. Nobody understood what we were about. Nobody understood the power of the concept. And it just took a long time, I think, to get there. But we did the groundwork. We kept getting back up when people were telling us no. And ultimately, you come across some folks who who see it, who get it. They're leaders in the industry, and they can really help propel you in big ways. But no, it wasn't always this easy, Cliff, for sure.
Well, Jason,
No, I shouldn't say it's easy. I'm not saying it's easy. I mean, it's still a lot of work. It takes a lot of time and attention and effort and diligence, both on the part of people who are looking to join the company as well as those who are attracting them. But there's a lot more brand recognition today, certainly, than there was back then.
well, I can recall when I joined the company, I think we had just over 1,500 agents, and there wasn't a lot of brand recognition, and people didn't understand. They weren't aware. They had never heard of eXp or the concept before. But you and Glenn and the rest of the board and the executives at the company have done just an incredible job here. And now that you're back in the saddle here at the real estate part of eXp World Holdings, we're all super excited. I'm kind of a student of EOS, which is the Entrepreneur Operating System. Gino Wickman's book Traction, you may be familiar with that. And what I see just from my chair is Glenn in sort of the visionary position of the company, and you kind of in the integrator part, where you're sort of, the one that holds the company accountable, makes sure that all the pieces are working, the linchpin, sort of the stem winder. How do you describe your role as CEO of the company now?
Well, it's funny, my role has changed, over and over again many times. I've been in this role before. I was in a role with the public company on a couple of different occasions, and am privileged to be a member of the board of directors as well. For me, I think, Glenn and I, it's been a wonderful working relationship. I mean, it's really amazing in 10 years how harmonious it's been, and how much we've been able to work together and gel. And that all started in our cloud campus for many, many months before we ever met in person. But I sort of see it that, Glenn and I share some views on things that I think are fundamentally important, right? Which is that the agent is the shareholder and the customer. And you listen to your agents, and you really drive your decisions by the agent experience and whether or not you're delivering on that expectation or exceeding it. And we always seek to exceed it. But I think just, culturally, in terms of what we stand for, our values, who we are as a company, I think we see very similarly on those things. And those are probably the most important things that a company has to preserve and protect. And so I think in large measure, I see that as very much part of my role. 10 years later, though, Cliff, I am still as excited as ever about the opportunity for people, for me, for my family, for agents, for their families, and for all the people who are just starting to take a look at us now and into the future. So in many respects, I still participate in a lot of conversations about the model and how it can alleviate pain points that agents might be having in their business, or that a brokerage owner might be having in their business. I'm certainly very much involved in the international expansion. As you well know, we launched in the United Kingdom and Australia last year, Australia very late last year. And we've had some great success there thus far. It's really amazing to see, but I get excited about that. And then I also get the opportunity to work very closely with Dave Kennord and Stacy Annan and Jeff Whiteside and Alan Goldman, and the list goes on, John Tobison. It's an amazing group, an amazing team. And it's just such a real honor to be able to sit in some of these meetings with such incredibly bright-minded people.
Well, you've always had my vote. There's one word that particularly in particular comes to mind when I think about you and the leadership that we have, and that is class. And you guys lead with class, and it's again one of the big attractors that brought me to the company some 3 years ago, and I've always appreciated how you handle things as whatever comes up. I mean, look, we're a young startup company still in a lot of books. Even though we've been around 10 years, we've got a lot of road to cover here, and it's incredible to see the company pivot. And whenever we need to make a change to adopt or sort of reposition ourselves, it's done in such a manner that everybody knows that it's in the best interest of the company and the agents. And this obsession with agent success is something that I have seen since I've been here. We've attracted a number of larger players in the business. everybody from the large teams to small, medium-sized brokerages that have come on board. And Jason and Glenn, I've had this conversation with him many times, but I want to just bring it up here. And that is that there seems to be a common thread among all of these other leaders who are bringing their teams here to eXp. And that is that if you ask them the reason, they'll say, well, it's great for me, but most importantly, it's better for my agents. And they really feel that bringing their agents over to eXp gives them a greater opportunity. How's the leadership here working continuously to make sure that we deliver that value, Jason?
Well, I think, first of all, I want to tell you that when this is all said and done, and I'm, many years older than I am today, and I look back on this entire experience, there'll be a point in time in January of 2019 that I won't forget. And it's when we were in Plano last year, and I think it was Brent's event, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe we were in Phoenix. I don't remember the exact location, but I had the opportunity to speak there. And shortly thereafter, you got up, maybe immediately after me, and you offered some very nice comments. And I remember your comment about class and doing things in the right way. And I feel the same way about you, Cliff. I think, when we talk about, why people are making the move over, this first became apparent to me, I think, in a big way back in 2015. So about a year before you joined, when we had a brokerage in the Northeast that had a very well-recognized brand, very respected brand, 30 years in the business underneath the RE/MAX umbrella, make the move over. And at the time, because they had established themselves in places that we read about in the history books, Lexington and Concord and some of these, great markets. I mean, they were pursued heavily when they were looking to make a transition. And they received, many offers. They had plenty of options that would have put, a lot of money in their pockets. And I will never forget them saying, the reason we're doing this is for our agents, because now for the first time we can take, an opportunity and we can put our agents in a better position than they've ever been in before. And indeed, we can put them in the same position that we're in today, right, as the brokerage owner, because now, the people on my team, I can reward their loyalty and everything that they've done for me or for us personally. And I'm speaking in the position of the brokerage owner in this hypothetical. But I now, the agents can go out and they can become part of the sales force for the organization as a whole. And they, just like I have for the last however many years I've been in the business, they can go out and they can attract people in markets that are both local to them, hyper local, and then in some cases very, very far away, international even. And they can realize a percentage of revenues revenues off of the production of those agents in a way that they couldn't before. I mean, the brokerage owner today and historically has been limited in terms of their ability to grow just by the geography and the dependence upon the physical brick and mortar office. In other words, you're only going to get so big until you run out of room, right? There are only going to be so many licensees or good agents that you want to have in your group within a certain defined market area. And what eXp does for the brokerage owner is it says, first of all those things that you don't like to focus on, right? Trust accounts. Here we are in January, you're going to send out 1099s to agents. I've never met a brokerage owner that likes to do those things. Maybe they're out there, but they like to do other things. They like to inspire, they like to teach, they like to coach, they like to build a successful team as you have. And so we say, focus on the things that really drive your passion. We'll take care of the other stuff that you're not terribly enthusiastic about. Will lower your expense burden and will open up markets to you that otherwise would be unreachable and that would require you, in order to enter, to make sizable investments, to really get yourself up to speed in terms of what the tools and systems are in that particular local market. They're going to add value to the agent's business. You've got to, there's a lot you have to do, a lot you have to invest, and a lot of risk. And we eliminate that risk and we make it very simple. And the beauty of it is that we do the exact same thing for the agents. Every single agent stands in the position of the shoes of the brokerage owner here, both with respect to brand as well as the economic opportunity. And I think that's what's so powerful about it. And those brokerage owners who understand it, those brokerage owners I find who really are able to step back and have the perspective that, hey, I've done this, I've been doing this for many years, I've had great success, and people know that. But to really recognize that the success comes from the agents who have been loyal to you and have helped drive those relationships. We decided to become a public company back in 2013 because we knew that the only asset that a brokerage had anywhere were the agents who were a part of it. And that's true in the US, it's true in Canada, it's true in the UK, it's true in Australia. It doesn't change anywhere you go. You can have the nicest office space, you can have the greatest CRM system, But if you don't have agents who are out there producing and representing your brand well and driving relationships with consumers and serving their interests, you've got nothing. And so I really applaud and admire those brokerage owners who are able to step back and have that perspective. And those who do, it's just an additional benefit to the brokerage owner to be able to put their agents in that position.
I mean, you nailed it. You hit it on the head. I mean, that's the true benefit. What I've had to help some brokerage owners overcome is, things related to brand and so forth. And, Jason, the reality is, brands like eXp, Keller Williams, Coldwell Banker, Compass, they're really not consumer-facing brands. I mean, Zillow has pretty much pulled the rug out under our feet, for being consumer-friendly and consumer-facing. But when it comes down to agents, agents can tell you the difference between those brokerages. The average customer who's selling a house, if you asked them what's different about you and another franchise model or whatever, they'd be hard-pressed to answer that question. But the reality is that when you look behind the curtains and what's driving the internal organism of the brokerage, of the business, when you look at us, and this is what I mean, I couldn't sleep for 3 days after Brent Gove chased me down in Dallas and told me about the business model. But that's really what drives the whole bus here, is the fact that it's built by an agent, with the agent in mind, and the whole notion and concept of equity, from a wealth enrichment standpoint plus retention. I mean, my gosh, it's just brilliant. I have to. Honestly, I pinch myself every day when I wake up to make sure that I'm not dreaming, or have fallen off a cliff or something. But it's incredible how it's all come together. Talk to me a little bit about, Jason, if you would. I know that education and training is at the heart of our soul here. Where does it fall on your list? How do you feel about education and training for agents at eXp?
Well, this entire 10 years for me has been a learning experience. I mean, I'm able to have opportunities to participate in the way that I do, both at this company and in my life, because of education and training. I mean, to me, fundamentally, there are a few things that are more important. And what I love about eXp and what I love about our platform, and we've got Curtis Dixon, who's out there doing a phenomenal job. We've certainly got some structure and programs that are in place. But if you look at where there's so much value, and I think part of this is tied into the agent ownership piece as well, because you want to contribute when you're an owner. You want to share your ideas. You want to lend your experiences over the course of your professional life into the company, because it's your company and you own it. And so on the education and training side, I mean, as you know, we've got iConversations on every Friday, where our icons will come into our campus and they'll share the secrets. They'll share the secret sauce, and they do that because everybody with them who's listening and everybody else in the company is a fellow shareholder with them. And so everybody's unified in the mission to build the best company they can. And I think a big and important part of that is education. We've known that for a while. I mean, very early on, we had people, our managing broker in Virginia, David Harbour, who was just constantly giving and teaching. And I won't start to go down the road because there's just too many people who fall into this category. But agents are remarkably giving to begin with, very, very generous. And I think at eXp even more so. So going into the new year, I mean, you're going to start to see some different things. And I think, you talked about pivoting. I think if whichever way we pivot, the foundation is always the same, which is how can we, as Glenn has said, make the value proposition so compelling that it would be irresponsible for somebody to affiliate with anybody other than eXp. And so when we pivot, when we make adjustments, when we make changes, it's always with an eye towards enhancing the value proposition. And I will tell you that as we enter the new year now, when we get everybody's attention back, we've got some things that we think will enhance the model further, enhance the company further, and enhance the opportunity further. And put agents in a better position to be able to build a successful business and a comfortable life.
Well, that single phrase that you just mentioned that Glenn is famous for, to make the value proposition so great that it would be irresponsible to hang your license anywhere else is something that has hung with me ever since I first heard him say that, and that really is the that's the guiding light here for this company. I mean, it even shows up in our Net Promoter Score, Jason, and there are very few companies. There are none, to my knowledge, in our business who publicly report their Net Promoter Scores, and no brokerages. I mean, they probably don't want anybody to know what their Net Promoter Score is, but we actually embrace that, and Glenn and you guys have really taken this as something that's crucial in guiding the company here, and that is the stakeholders here are the agents, and if they're not happy and if they're not totally behind what's going on, and we recently reported a Net Promoter Score of 61, and just to put that in perspective, because a lot of people may not understand what that number means, but Net Promoter Scores can go from -100 all the way up to 100. Depending on the industry, they could be good at a lower number than another. In other words, if you're in certain industries like the credit card business, that industry's not very well liked anyway, so you won't get a very high Net Promoter Score in there. But I'll just say that a 61 in comparison and relative to other world-class companies puts us right up in there. I mean, Southwest Airlines is 66. You get up to Apple and some of these others that are just over the top. And if you get to 70, that's considered world-class. So I got to say, and as a part of this movement here, it's so exciting to see those kinds of results coming from within. And I know that you guys read those numbers when they come in, and they're very important to how you guys drive the business. But I just want to say congratulations on that achievement. That's over the top.
Well, I tell you what, we're aiming higher. I didn't realize you were such a student of NPS, but you're absolutely right. Now we have a meeting on Fridays and also on Mondays, but on Fridays we go over the NPS, and we've gotten to the point now. Last year I think one of the big things that we did is we brought in Becky Etchison to administer our NPS surveys, and that allowed us to really send them out at points in time that are really going to inform one's impression of the company. So if you close your first transaction or close a transaction, we want to know on a scale of 0 to 10 how that experience was. Once you onboard, on a scale of 0 to 10, how is that experience? And so in this Friday meeting in World, and by the way, the fact that we operate in the way that we do, I think makes it even more important that we focus on the experience, because we're in avatars and we're working across geographies in a very close and interpersonal way. But on Fridays in that meeting, now we're able to look and see what the payment processing NPS score is, right? And we have commentary, and so we will absolutely focus on those items that are highlighted by our agents, that are pain points for our agents. It does chart our course, and there's nothing more important since we put it in place back in 2015. The truth is, with NPS, if you focus on that and you achieve on that metric, everything else falls into place, and that includes growth.
Well, it does. Who was it? Richard Branson that said, if you take care of your employees or your people, they'll take care of, the end user, right? And that's exactly right. Jack Mitchell, The Ultimate Question 2.0, Disney, all of the great companies in the world that really pay attention to their clients, their raving fans. And I'll tell you, if the great news is that eXp has a lot of raving fans, and I'm excited to see that number continue to improve, because I know you guys are working hard every day to make sure that happens.
We actually watch the responses in real time now. So there's actually a feed that comes across, and we see it as somebody submits a response to a survey on any particular thing that might be in part of their life cycle with the company: transaction, onboarding, a class, a live event. It's really great because we're able to move pretty quickly and solve things quickly. It's really quite exciting. I mean, it probably doesn't sound exciting when we're talking about it, but it is exciting to watch the numbers improve and go up. And as I mentioned, we're looking to build upon that 61 as we head into 2020, and we're pretty optimistic about our ability to do that.
Wow. Well, I'll tell you, it's great to see. So let me shift gears here for a moment, if I may,
Sure.
Jason, because although we feel like we know you very well, I think there's a lot of us that wish we knew a little bit more about Jason Gesing, the person. So if you don't mind, I kind of want to just take you aside here for a minute and just ask you some questions about Jason Gesing. Is that okay?
It's fine. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. How would your friends describe you, Jason?
Uh, Goodness, I don't have any friends. Yeah, I would say consistent and probably genuine. And there I think there's some truth to that. I mean, I don't say things that I don't mean, and when I say something, I really do mean it. And I think I'm probably a decent listener. I'm terrible with charts and graphs and numbers and spreadsheets. I mean that I have a challenge with that. But I think people would describe me as loyal. People would describe me as honest, or at least I would hope that they would. And and they would probably describe me as somebody who always wanted to be either a baseball player or a sports writer, and never had that opportunity. And it's a good thing because then eXp came along.
I was going to say, I'm sure glad you're not Alex Rodriguez right now. Thank you very much.
So
Much rather have you where you are, for sure. When you were speaking of baseball and so forth, as you were growing up, who were your heroes back when you were, in your early years, Jason?
well, yeah. So it's they were all sports folks. First of all, I grew up. I was born in 1973, so I really began to pay attention to things and have conversations that were meaningful with my mother. I was raised by my mother only. But I liked Ronald Reagan. I really thought Ronald Reagan, the way he, and of course at the age of 10 or whatever, I wasn't necessarily focused on the issues so much, just in terms of his leadership ability and how he was able to bring people together. But then on the sports side of things, I really I was a big fan of Wade Boggs of the Boston Red Sox.
Sure.
I was also, Rick Middleton for the Bruins, Pete Peters, who was a former goalie for the Bruins. I was a big hockey fan when I was growing up. So those were.
Yeah, we know a little bit about hockey here. I think we had 85,000 people sitting out in 50-degree weather on New Year's Day in Dallas at the Cotton Bowl.
I saw that. Yeah, that's great. You should get to that if it ever comes back. I remember they had it at Fenway Park, the Winter Classic. I want to say maybe 3 or 4 years ago, and it's an amazing event. So I saw that. I'm glad it came to Dallas. 50 degrees isn't bad, Cliff.
Yeah, no. Well, that's that's when all the everybody gets their fur coats out of storage when we dip below 50 for sure. No question. That's brutal weather. Uh, well, Jason, let's see here. What else can I ask you? For what do you want to be remembered? How about that one? What do you want to be remembered?
I want to be remembered for being a good dad. A good dad. I never met mine, so it's always been important to me. Ever since my oldest was born, to be present, to be around, to be engaged, to be supportive, not to be detached. And so every day, whether I'm here at home with them or traveling, the most important thing that has to happen on that day is to check in with them and make sure that they're having a good day. So I hope that's what I'm remembered for. And even if I'm only remembered for it by Henry and Harrison.
Oh my gosh, man. Well, I think you've just completely demonstrated why everybody that meets you just has the highest amount of respect for you and the class gentleman that you are, and we really appreciate you. All right, so let's do this. Let's get back to business here. 2020, January 2nd, today. What really excites you about the next 3 years for eXp? What gets you screaming out of bed in the morning, Jason?
Well, I think I can also say the kids, but I think the international expansion really excites me because it allows us to bridge divides that otherwise are going to keep people apart from one another. Things like religious background or economic background or race or sexual orientation or whatever it might be in different parts of the world. These are things that generally will differentiate people. And here, when we launched in Quebec, it meant for the first time we had folks that were speaking French in world. And as we look ahead over the next coming years, I love the idea that at all hours of the day, around the clock, we're going to have people in world who are learning different things, who are speaking different languages, who come from different socioeconomic backgrounds, who have different levels of experience in the business. And again, going back to the ownership thing, I don't mean to hit it too much, but it all ties in, because together, irrespective of whatever those differences might be, everybody's working together towards the same thing. So I get really excited about that. I want to say that Ted Lotz, in my opinion, has done a phenomenal job getting our affiliated services off the ground this year in some pretty new and innovative ways. I'm certainly excited about that. I'm excited about the fact that we've been able to offer agent healthcare that is real and it's meaningful, and we're not just a conduit to the marketplace overall. I mean, we're really providing a differentiated product to our agents, and that's very exciting. And then also Virbela, as you know, Cliff, you were here when we acquired Virbela back in 2018. When I think about our approach to the business in real estate, and I think about some of the other applications that you could use the platform for, I think that we can really make a difference in a lot of different industries and really improve the lives of people who are in those industries. I think about, in a former life, I was an attorney, not a very good one, but I spent more time at the office than I needed to. My clients were paying more than they needed to, and it was all because we were paying these expenses that were tied to brick and mortar, even though, just like in real estate, for the most part, people aren't walking in the office. If you have something that you need to do, it's off-site somewhere else at a neutral location for a mediation or whatever it might be, or a closing. So I think the same fundamentals can apply. I think Virbela is the key to that. I think it's the real, critical piece to the puzzle. And I think we've been able to demonstrate that we can build community in a really, compelling way, I think, without having to go and expend and take the risk and put the infrastructure in place in terms of hard costs and fixed costs that typically would be required to build community. I mean, I think if you sort of look at what the greater good is, or our just cause, and we were having some conversations about this just before the holidays, right before Thanksgiving. I mean, I think the fact that we're able to build this community, I mean, you think about the people who are even on staff, right? I mean, we've had staff members who have changed geographies, changed countries, changed time zones, several times in the course of their employment with us. They're military spouses, and, they got all the talent in the world, but because they're uprooted every so often, it's hard to find stable employment. We've been able to provide that. And so I just think there are a lot of things that we can still do, and I think Virbela makes it possible. And I'm extremely optimistic and excited about where that goes next. And I know there are a lot of people on the team that are working really hard on it. But I would never want to work a different way again. And so I would say to the folks who are listening, who are not with eXp, and who are curious about what I've just said, or who think I'm crazy because I just started talking about avatars, I mean, come on in. We'll give you a tour. It's really easy. If I can do it, anybody can do it. And you will meet people, and you will enrich your life through the relationships that you'll develop in that campus. You will be blown away by it, and you'll never want to go back to a brick and mortar environment.
That's right. And, it really is incredible. I mean, there are going to be books written and classes taught in Harvard Business School about this company. I can guarantee it. Now, just for clarity, Jason, we talk about all these great things that are seemingly outside of real estate, like Virbela and so forth. Can you elaborate a little bit on what agent ownership means relative to these other ancillary income sources? We're not just about eXp Realty, right?
That's correct. So the structure, the public company is eXp World Holdings, and for those folks who would like to learn more about it and would like to look at our financials, take a look at our governance and other aspects, you can go to expworldholdings.com or look at the ticker symbol EXPI on any of the major financial websites. But underneath eXp World Holdings is, eXp Realty is our affiliated services, is eXp Canada, and Virbela as well. So, fundamentally, when we do something and we do it well and we succeed, we all succeed together, and our agents participate in all of that, whether it's part of eXp Realty or some other activity that we're engaged in and business that we're driving. So we want our agents to participate in every single thing that we do because they're the reason why we're all here.
That I got to tell you, that just blows my mind. The openness and the generosity of Glenn to open up everything about his vision to the agents who are here that are doing the heavy lifting, mind you, but still to be a part of things that that potentially down the road are not even going to be in the real estate industry is just beyond comprehension. It's just such a wonderful place, a wonderful thing to be, and a great environment to flourish in here.
Well, I agree with you completely. So I'll tell you, on October 24th, when I came back into this role, I had a conversation with Glenn. Just he and I, and he said to me, the one thing that's really important to me, Jason, is that we don't raise fees on agents, that we don't start looking for ways to generate money off of the backs of our agents. And so you'll see that. I mean, our fees have remained consistent. Our cap has remained consistent. And so he truly does come from that place. In my opinion, there is nobody else in the industry that's a better advocate for agent interest than Glenn Sanford. And it's because he approached the building and the development and the launch of this company by thinking about what a company would look like if it was going to be compelling enough to attract him. And he has not deviated from that at all. And, as I mentioned before, we continue to try and enrich the model, enrich the opportunity. And we think 2020 is going to be a big year in that way.
Well, I tell you, I am excited beyond imagination to be here and to be a part of this. And I'm looking forward to the next 75,000 agents who come through our doors and align themselves with us and become part of this family. It really is. It's incredible to be part of the collaboration that goes on here. I've had the pleasure to work with groups in Canada and almost in every state in the country with people that I've helped bring on board here to eXp, and it has just been such a wonderful thing for someone like me who spent a number of years coaching real estate agents. In this new model, I'm able to touch many more lives and make a much bigger difference in more people's lives than I ever could have. And so for that, I'm very grateful and very thankful, and very grateful and thankful for you, Jason, now back in the saddle here, running the ship for us, because I'll tell you what, that just that gets me fired up every day to come in and see the great things that you and your team have in store for us. And so again, I want to thank you. I looked at the clock here, and this has gone by super fast, but I want to wind up here by asking you a question. Jason, sorry, is there a question perhaps that I didn't ask you that I should have today?
Yes. The question would be, will you come back in 6 months and give us an update on all the things that are happening in 2020?
I love it. I love it. That would be super cool. Yes.
I just want to say, Cliff, you are to me emblematic of exactly the type of person that we want at our company and the type of person we want in the business. You've had great success on the sales side. You've built a team, but you're a gentleman yourself, and you represent the company very, very well. And I'm proud to be in business with you and proud to have you out there telling people our story. So thank you very much for letting me be here. And I hope your cold gets a little better.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I thank you for the kind words. I'm just excited that we've got such a great story to tell. I'll tell you that makes this a lot of fun. It's like Gene Frederick said a while back, real estate's fun again. And I was about to retire and get out of the business, and here I am. I've got a team of 18 agents. We're going to try to get it up to 40 here in the Dallas 50 in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and I'm having more fun now than I ever have in my 30 years in the business. So, Jason, thank you, and thank Glenn for that opportunity.
One question, though. Your organization spans across many more markets, though, right? So you've got the 18 and you're going to get that up to 25. But I mean, your organization as a whole, in terms of what you've done to contribute to the company's growth and bring people in, I know it's incredible. Actually, I've followed the pace of your progress, and it's quite remarkable.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I'm excited. We just crossed 3,600 in our group here, so we're very excited about that, and excited about the growth potential for the next 3 years. This is there's, like you said earlier, there's never been a better time to partner up with us at eXp. There will be 75,000. This is my prediction. Obviously, we're not making predictions outside of the rules here. But I'll just say that I think that we're going to be at 100,000 agents within the next say 3 years. And for those of you who are listening, we'd sure like to extend our hand out to you and invite you to find out more about this incredible business model and this wonderful family called the eXp.
True. And we'll keep building on the story. It's going to just keep getting better and better. So thank you very much, Cliff.
Jason, thank you so much. I hope you stay warm up there. You're in Boston, right?
Yes, sir. Yep.
Okay. Well, we'll take a knee for the Patriots. Hopefully, they'll get through the season and still come out with some big trophies this year. And if you guys decide to let any of your coaching go up there, would you please send them down here to Dallas? We're in bad need of. We're dropping too many balls down here. That's the problem. So we need some help.
Well, I don't want to make you feel worse about that, but this is the first time where we haven't had a bye week in the playoffs that I can remember in a very, very long time, and I'm kind of excited because it means an extra game to watch. So Saturday night, 8:15.
Got it. I'll be there. I'll be watching. I'll be glued to the TV set. All right, Jason. All right. So great to see you. Look
Cliff.
forward to spending 2020 with you, my friend. All righty. Take care, everybody.
Thank
and
you.
if you would, yes. And if you would, you can go to getcliffsnotes.com and if you can register, sign up, and get notified of our next episode. And we'll be back at you next week. That'll be the 9th with a surprise guest that I know you're going to want to meet. So be back here Thursday, 1 o'clock Central Time. That's 2 o'clock Eastern Time. And have a great rest of your week. We'll talk to you then.